All right, in this video, we're going to talk about creative strategy and why it's super important if you're running ads and what it actually is. Because I see a lot of, creative strategy agencies pop up and they're essentially glorified, UGC creator sourcing type of agencies where they just find people to make content for you. And there's actually no strategy behind it, which is ironic that it's called creative strategy. So first of all, what is creative strategy, right? It is not running ads. It's not even making ads or even testing ads, right? At its core, creative strategy is a process. It's a process aimed at consistently producing outsized wins. How do we month on month, week on week, create ads that actually produce outsized return? Most agencies basically just find a bunch of creators, get them to make videos for you, and then you throw them up and see what sticks. That is not a strategy. That is more akin to gambling, right? If you do creative strategy right, it is probably the second most positively correlated thing with better ROAS. And I say second because number one is obviously the price, right? There are agencies out there that will try and tell you that their media buying or their creative strategy is the reason why the ROAS is like a 10x or a 17x, and I'm here to tell you that that's completely wrong. We've gotten ROASes as high as 21x, and the entire reason for that is just because they sell a more expensive product. That's how it is, right? If you sell a more expensive product, then your ROAS is just going to be higher. There's no secret there. And media buying and creative strategy on the margin will make a difference, but the bulk of it is like how expensive the product is. So that aside, creative is a close second, right? Better creatives will result in lower costs, which equals more eyeballs, which equals more sales, assuming everything stays constant. And so you can imagine this graph as like, okay, what is the ROAS? How good is my ad on this y-axis? The better your ad is, the higher the ROAS, assuming the product price is the same. And the reason for this is because social platforms are incentivized to keep users on the platform. The longer that users stay on the platform, the longer that they see ads, right? The more ads they see, the higher the chance that they're going to buy. And so as an advertiser, if you create a bad ad, you are creating a bad user experience, which means the ad platforms are going to be reluctant to push your ad further, right? This is why if you don't have good ads, you're likely seeing costs that are really high, and you're likely never able to hit your desired KPIs, right? Your desired cost per clicks, your desired ROAS. At the end of the day, it just comes down to your creative strategy. Good ads, on the other hand, create a good user experience. And that is a flywheel in of itself. Good user experience means you're actually providing a piece of content, an ad, even if it's an ad that people actually want to see. And because of that, these ad platforms are able to measure that. They're able to understand your ad through the quantitative, engagement metrics, and they'll know if your ad is good, right? If people are engaging with it, they're watching it, then these platforms will understand that it's a good piece of content, then it's good user experience. It's keeping people on the platform, which means it'll want to push it. It'll want to boost it up, right? That's where you start to see lower CPMs, a better cost per clicks, and a better return on ad spend. And so that is why creative strategy is really important. Another part is that, since iOS, these algorithms have basically been forced to become more AI driven, right? These learning signals are now being optimized almost purely based on the engagement of the ad. What I mean by this is before, you used to be able to get you used to be able to eke out performance through media buying. And it was really important that you had a nerd in there in your ads manager just crunching numbers and crunching audiences. But now, because we're losing all that third-party data and forced to use first-party data, which is less, essentially these ad algorithms are now super AI injected, and they need your help as the advertiser to help them identify who is the right person to show your ads to. And the way that they rely on you is through creative, right? They're relying on you to create an ad that speaks to your customers. The assumption here is that if it speaks to your customers, then they're going to engage with it, and by them engaging with it, these ad algorithms, these ad networks will be able to go through their identity graphs and find other people that look like the people that engaged with your ad. And so the creative needs to be the mechanism which your ideal customers engage with. Problem is, most people have bad creatives, and so nobody's engaging with it, right? And when nobody engages with it, then it's pretty difficult, or the people that do engage with it is there's a very small quantity of those people, right? And these learning algorithms need tons of data to be able to learn. And so if you have a bad ad, then you're limiting the data. Number one, you're limiting the data that these algorithms are getting. And number two, nobody's engaging with it because it's just a shit ad, and then you're not gonna be able to get much performance on it. It's gonna be more expensive, etc. Right? So what actually happens when you have a good creative process? Well, you increase the number of ads you can test, you increase the win rate of the ads that tested, and then ultimately you increase the ROAS. And then when you have a good creative process in place, you actually also mitigate these kind of roller coaster swings in performance, right? Most people's approach to creative strategy is something like this, right? It's where it's very reactive, where they'll just throw up a creative concept, let it ride for a bit, and then wait for it to fatigue, and then only when it fatigues they'll create another one, right? And they'll just go through this cycle of, roller coaster performance. Whereas the new way, the more modern approach, is to have a cadence where you test creative concepts and you have iterations of specific concepts, and they get better over time, and your creative performance is less volatile, right? It's more stable. So that is why you need creative strategy. It is, helps you stay on top of ad performance. So how do we actually implement creative strategy? Number one is research. Research will, the bulk of creative strategy is to basically do research. Tools like, TikTok Creative Center have now given you, unprecedented levels of transparency. Look at these metrics, right? CTR, they tell you CTRs, they tell you, where the CTR spikes in the video, how many people remain, conversions. It even tells you like the top, where it stands in the industry average, how much money they're spending in terms of budget levels. You can't find this stuff in the Meta Ads library, but in TikTok, it's, super transparent. And we've seen that TikTok concepts perform just as well, if not better, on Instagram and Facebook. So go to TikTok Creative Center, you can filter the top ads and just understand and study, why these certain ads work. After you've done a fair bit of research and you're starting to create your own ads, I would highly encourage you to focus on the hook, over-index on the hook, right? This is where most noobs go wrong. They'll create an ad, and the substance of the ad will be pretty good, but they're like 30 seconds in or a minute in and they're just getting to the point, right? People nowadays don't have time for that. They don't have the patience for that. The average watch time for most ads is 3 to 5 seconds. So if you're not very clear about what it is that you do or offer in the first 3 to 5 seconds, and you're not focusing on a hook that's actually going to get people to watch, then most people are just going to scroll past your ad. And if they scroll past your ad, you don't even get the chance to get the message across, right? It might be the best product in the world, best service in the world, but if they don't even get a chance to consume the message, then it doesn't matter. And so it's super important to focus on the hook, get people to watch the video first, and then pitch your sales, and then do the rest of the ad, the value props, the pitching, etc. So be super aware of this, and just by improving the hook, right? Like there's some ads where literally all we had to do was change the first, 3 to 5 seconds, and the performance has drastically improved. Number 3 is you actually want to analyze the ad results. Sounds super obvious, right? But you'd be surprised how many people don't do this, right? They kind of just throw up ads, see what sticks, go through this cycle of throwing up ads and seeing what sticks. This is not how you create consistent outsized wins, right? This is guessing, this is gambling, this is shooting in the dark. And so one way to do this is to just, ask yourself, why a certain ad won or why it didn't win, and then sort of derive beliefs from why you think that happened. Super obvious, right? And then, a lot of people don't do this. Then they're more likely to make the same mistakes in the ads that didn't work, and it'll cause, mediocre performance. And the fourth thing is to derive stackable learnings, right? Isolate elements of an ad and continue to optimize and refine to create a tower of stackable and tangible learnings. Most people don't learn anything from their ads and therefore cannot reproduce or explain why their ad worked. So if you look at this, graphic here, once you have a winning ad, you should be able to increase the average creative performance over time just by isolating certain elements of the ad and refining it. What I mean by this, and then by doing that, you'll have what are called stackable learnings, right? And then you can take these learnings and then implement them into new creative concepts and get results just as good. This is how the big boys do it, right? And this is the most leveraged way, because here you're making small tweaks, but you're eking out performance efficiencies, right? Whereas, the traditional way, or the traditional creative strategist is someone who just makes 10 new ads every month, throws them up and see what sticks, and then learns nothing, does it again. So how does this work? Well, you can break down your ad into different elements, right? We can test the messaging, right? An example of this would be, we can have a hypothesis about what are the pain points that our ideal customer are facing. Let's say we sell, some sort of skincare product, and we can target a few different pain points. We can say, acne. We can talk about, dry skin. We can talk about different insecurities that these people might have, and then from there craft messaging that target these different pain points. And once we find a pain point that sticks, then we can talk about formats. Right, so let's say we test a few different ads. One, we're talking about acne. One, we're talking about dry skin. One, we're talking about, let's say dark circles or something like that. And when we run these ads, we found that, acne was the one that resonated, right? It got the lowest cost per click. It got the lowest CPMs. and had the most conversions. You'll typically find something like this, right? So now we know, okay, hey, acne is what's actually the pain point that stands out in the market. And this is the thing that we should be focusing on. So now we can then create, 3 separate ads that test different formats. Now we know the messaging is acne, so we'll have 3 scripts that all talk about acne, but the way that we present the ad will be different. Like the formats will be different, right? And so an example of this is you can have a UGC creator, right, talk about their experience. That could be a format. Another format could be, showcasing the product and having infographics. That's another format, like comparing, 2 products about why your acne product is better than some other acne product. Another format that's been working really well is like a podcast style format, right? Having people actually talk about it in a podcast setting. That's another different format. And then from there, we can find out which format works the best. Let's say the podcast format works the best. So now we're combining, okay, acne is the main problem, then we're stacking podcast format on top of that, right? And then we go up the ladder and we talk about ad layouts. And then we can, go back to messaging and refine it, right? When we talk about refining messaging, we're talking about, how can we refine the first 2 seconds of this ad? What type of language, what type of hooks? Even just changing the first 2 words can make a difference. And you go up this ladder, and if you do this right, you will get, step function incremental improvements in your ads over time. And these things don't take that long to change, right? Whereas creating 10 new ads does. And so this is the process by which you actually take away and derive learnings that you can then use into the other ads, right? So for example, let's say I take this process and then now I work with a completely different business. I work with a B2B business. Well, the messaging might be a little bit different, but I know the formats will work, right? I know that the podcast style format is likely to be a winning format. So I take this format and I put it into another business or another industry, another niche, and we just have to tweak the messaging. And then we go up this ladder again. And then from there, you can take these learnings. And this is one of the arguments for working with an agency that does this, right? Is because they're able to take all these learnings that you otherwise would not be able to get access to and be able to install it directly into your business to get ads that crush day one. And so you can take this and implement it into your business. I guarantee you will see results if you're not already doing this. Obviously, there is a little bit more to this, right? Writing creative briefs, finding the right people to execute the ads, that's huge, right? A lot of problems with these B2B founders and these that make ads is that they don't actually understand how to make content. I'm a believer that in order to make good ads on the platform, you have to be a content creator. You have to understand how these platforms work, right? And I've definitely experienced this when I first got on TikTok. I was making videos that I was interested in, that I thought people would enjoy, and I was just like 200 views. Right? But then I would make a video about something else and it would get like 30K views. And the reason for that is because people don't care about you, right? And they don't care about your content. So you have to cater your stuff to what the market wants generally. That way you can make ads that produce the ads that get asymmetric returns, right? So a lot of these B2B founders, a lot of these business founders will come up and they'll shoot an ad and they'll wonder why their costs are so high or why they're not able to cost they want to hit. It's because they don't understand how to make content and how to make good content. And so part of their creative strategy process is to find people who do actually know how to make good content, right? And so that's super important. So hopefully this was helpful. Go ahead and install this, try this on your own. And if you need help, book a call with me or my team by clicking the link in the description. Check out our other content, and I'll see you in the next video.